Everybody. So I wanted to welcome you to our afternoon group, Smart Meal Swaps. Can you just let me know that y'all can hear me okay before we go anymore? Okay. All right. So excellent. I'm glad you all can hear me. Thanks. So today we're doing Smart Meal Swaps, how to take your cooking and eating game up a notch, which I think this is important because, yes, we've talked about it's holiday time and, we try to be mindful about where we're going, what are we going to eat, how do we prep for it. But I also think at this time of the year as well as year round, thinking in terms of how we can swap out certain foods just to give us more nutrients, more fiber, things like that, is always just kind of a good thing to know. So I thought it'd be useful to do that now as well. So, a couple of things that we're going to talk about. We're going to review how you can make swaps when cooking at home that will decrease your fat and salt, increase fiber, vitamins and minerals, increase leaner protein choices. We're always talking about lean protein, and reduce your processed carbohydrate footprint, as well as healthy meal swaps when eating out. So first thing, do these look familiar to everybody, right? We've got the fried fish, or it could be fried chicken, I'm not sure, but they kind of look the same. We have French fries, our processed food, a big old bowl of comforting spaghetti and meatballs, our sauteed vegetables, and some more fried food. Which, granted, it looks good, but how can we swap things out to make those some better choices? Okay. So the first swap we're going to look at is fiber. Okay, you can use things like oat bran flour or buckwheat flour in place of half the amount of all-purpose flour or white flour. These are flours that you can find anywhere. You can find them you don't have to go to Trader Joe's or Whole Foods. Walmart has it, Harris Teeter has it, so they're pretty easy to find. And here's the take on that. So if you want to boost your nutrition and fiber in baked goods with this swap, you're going to get 4 grams of protein per quarter cup for oat bran and 3 grams of fiber and 4 grams of protein per quarter cup on the buckwheat. And then choosing ancient grains like farro, bulgur, barley, as well as quinoa and brown rice for white rice. And again, you'll be upping your fiber intake. And just make sure, just a note to self here, that when you're increasing your fiber intake, you also want to remember to increase your water intake. Okay. When we're talking about some other carbs, right? How do we cut back on carbs? Because they're really good, but here's the thing, it's easy to just, once you start that, it's easy to start craving it. It goes around in a vicious circle, and before you know it, your bread, your pasta, your rice, it's a little out of control. So some ways you can easily cut back on carbs without cutting out flavor. Add your non-starchy vegetables like mushrooms, spinach, broccoli, and onions to help create that bulk. You can replace mashed potatoes with cauliflower mash. Buying a veggie spiralizer and replacing the pasta with zoodles, those zucchini noodles, or the rice with cauliflower rice. You can also sprinkle the breadcrumbs on top of the fish or chicken and vegetables without actually, kind of coating it and making like this very thick coating that definitely adds extra calories and extra carbs. You can try making a pizza crust using cauliflower, chickpeas, or zucchini. And that's a great way to slide in those extra vegetables without all the carbs and the calories. Also, using spaghetti squash instead of pasta. Has anybody done that? It's really tasty. It's super easy. And it's just a nice swap out for that heaviness and the bulk of the pasta. Yeah, it's not bad. But you have to go into it with the right mindset that it is not pasta and it's not going to taste like pasta, but it kind of gives you the flavor, so to speak. So 2 cups has just 84 calories in that spaghetti squash and 20 grams of fiber, as well as potassium, which is good for your blood pressure, and vitamin A. Good for your eyes. Okay. If we're talking about salt, and, well, who isn't talking about salt these days, right? We're always trying to keep our blood pressure in check, and salt is one thing that can easily knock it out of alignment. So swapping out sodium could reduce the risk of hypertension and cardiovascular disease. Average American consumes approximately 3,400 milligrams of sodium a day. Although 1,500 milligrams is the recommended amount from the American Heart Association. As you can see, 3,400 milligrams is not really a lot. It's a teaspoon and a half. And when you think about these guidelines, that's the amount of salt that you would have in total for the entire day, not just at one meal. So think about that. You know, salt is in everything. So really being mindful about how to swap that out is going to be key to keeping that blood pressure in check, and maybe even off medication. So, my slide is not working, but all right, well, sorry, I don't know, for some reason my slide is not working. All right, well, where does all that sodium come from? So this is what would be on my slide. 5% comes from you adding it at cooking. Another 6% is you add it while you're eating at the table. 12% comes from natural sources, what's already in our food. And then 79% comes from processed and prepared foods. So that's why when we talk to you guys about making some changes, oh, there it is. We're always talking about using whole foods and trying to swap out some of those processed foods because they are so full of sodium. Okay. Another way you can do it is to use herb-only seasonings, such as garlic powder, celery seed, onion flakes, or powder. So notice that I'm saying powder. It's not garlic salt. And so many people are like, well, can I use garlic salt or onion salt? No, it's still salt, right? So you want to make sure that you're buying the powder version of those things. Finely chopping fresh herbs, garlic, celery, or onions. Citrus juices like lemon, lime, and orange, or using other flavored vinegars like rice balsamic, and they have a ton. You can see them. A lot of times you can get them pretty inexpensively in stores like Marshall's or Home Goods or TJ Maxx in the food section. They will have flavored vinegars. They have a food section, and there's flavored vinegars in there that are great. And vinegar has no salt. Despite kind of tasting salty, it actually has no salt. Okay. All right. So this is a list. I think it'll be easier when you download it. But this is a list of different spices and herbs that you can use and what kinds of foods it goes with. So I'm obviously not going to go over this now because that's way too much to get into, and it's a little small for me on my screen here. So I'm going to ask that you take a look at that when you download the slide. But keep it up on the fridge as a reference because it's nice to know that if you're cooking beef or chicken, what are those herbs and spices that will help highlight the flavor, all right, and goes well with that particular kind of meat. So that strictly as a reference for you guys. So here we go with sugar. Most Americans consume 20 teaspoons of sugar a day. Now, you can half the amount of sugar by replacing it with 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, which boosts flavor. I know that sounds kind of hard to believe, and I did have to check that a number of times myself just to make sure. I went on and I was looking, did a little research on that, and apparently that is a very common thing to do, is switching out vanilla extract for sugar. So that might be something you want to consider. If you're baking I would be careful with that because there are certain things that sugar does if you are baking, especially for the holidays, so it's not out of the realm of reality. But yeah, I would say if you're doing it for flavoring, and sugar when you're baking does way more than flavor food. Obviously, it adds sweetness, but it also adds moisture and other things. There's some chemical things going on, so it wouldn't be a one-to-one swap there. But certainly, you know, if it's you want to put it in your coffee or tea, that might be something kind of neat to try. Or if you're making some kind of marinade, putting some vanilla in could work. I don't know, I've not done that, but we're here to learn, so always something new. 1 cup of sugar is 773 calories. Half that, and you'll save almost 400 calories. So that's where I'm saying if you are baking, you can still get away. The sugar flavors, you know, and what you're doing with it is enough that if you even half it, you'll still be fine, and it's not going to change the quality of the product. But man, you can save a lot of calories that way. Also, using unsweetened applesauce in place of sugar. I've done that, and it does work. It can be substituted at 1-to-1 ratio. Means if it calls for a cup of sugar, you can put in a cup of applesauce. The only thing that you want to do is reduce the liquid in the recipe by 1/4 of a cup. Okay. Also, 1 cup of applesauce is 100 calories. So this substitution can save you over 600 calories overall. All right. When we're talking about fat, I'm sure most of you have heard this, using plain yogurt instead of sour cream. So by switching to plain non-fat Greek yogurt, you can cut calories in half while still getting a boost of protein. So 1 cup of Greek yogurt contains 24 grams of protein. Now I said 1 cup. That's not the same as what you're seeing when you get, you know, when you guys are eating your Greek yogurt. That's a 5-ounce container. So this is a full 8 ounces. It's 24 grams of protein. You can also use it to top baked potatoes, create dips, or make salad dressings. You can also use avocado instead of mayonnaise. So 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise has 188 calories and 20 grams of fat. 2 tablespoons of avocado has 50 calories and 4 grams of fat. Bonus, avocados contain monounsaturated fats that help reduce cholesterol and triglyceride levels, as well as your risk for type 2 diabetes. So when you're thinking about fat and mayonnaise, I mean, yes, you can use the low-fat mayonnaise, but here's a great way to boost your unsaturated fats by using avocado. Okay, for heavy cream, evaporated skim milk. Full-fat heavy cream is low in protein and fiber and not very satisfying, with 414 calories, 2 grams of protein, and 44 grams of fat per cup. However, evaporated skim milk has 240 calories, 16 grams of protein, and about 5 grams of fat per cup. So that's a huge savings. Switching to evaporated skim milk will help cut calories in half and cut out fat and increase your protein. It's because in evaporated skim milk, they take out about 50% of the water. Excuse me. So it's thicker and richer than regular skim milk. And it's a great addition to soups, puddings, and creamy sauces that depend on heavy cream for texture and consistency. So if you wanted to do some kind of fancy sauce for the holidays, you don't have to worry about it being super high in fat because you've got a trick up your sleeve with this evaporated skim milk. And with the other things you're going to put in it, nobody will know the difference. All right. Using, and we talked a bit about this before, pureed fruit instead of sugar, butter, or oil. So incorporating mashed potatoes or pureed peaches into chocolate cakes, spice cakes, or muffins, you really don't taste the flavor that much. Pureed pears works great for coffee cakes and quick breads. Prune puree, and you can get that like the baby food aisle. works best in spice cakes, muffins, scones, chocolate, and coffee cakes, crumb crust, brownies, and cookies. I actually have used that one in chocolate cake and brownies, and it works, and you don't taste the plum flavor at all. It gives foods nutrients and an antioxidant boost, as well as some fiber. And a tablespoon of oil is 120 calories and 13.5 grams of fat. A tablespoon of prune puree is only 47 calories and 0 grams of fat. So it's totally worth a try. Prunes are rich in potassium, an important bone building and stable blood pressure nutrient. So, you're also getting that nutritional bonus. Okay, let's talk a little bit about protein swaps. Extra lean ground beef or lean ground turkey is great to use in place of ground beef. You want to look for ground beef that is 90% lean. A typical 3-ounce serving of 95% lean contains 116 calories and 4 grams of fat. A serving of full-fat ground beef contains 250 calories and 18.5 grams of fat. So I know that sometimes we have to balance out, the financial and the nutritional, but if you have it in your budget, it is definitely worth paying a little more for that leaner ground beef. Now, here's another option I thought I'd throw out there to you. Grass-fed beef. That's high in what we call omega-3 fatty acids. So those are the fatty acids that have been shown to reduce cardiac inflammation or inflammation around the heart. Okay, as well as having higher levels of vitamins and cancer-fighting antioxidants like A and E, and lower in fat and saturated fat and cholesterol. And if you're using turkey, that is rich in niacin, which is a B vitamin that promotes metabolism. Okay. When we're talking about replacements for eggs, think of it in terms of if you don't need the yolk, the egg white contains only 17 calories and 4 grams of protein per egg. And eggs are what we call the perfect protein. They are effective at increasing fullness and reducing hunger, and they are also fat and cholesterol free. 2 egg whites would equal 1 whole egg. So if you're trying to cut down the cholesterol, and the cholesterol is what's in the yolk, then 2 egg whites would be the swap for that. Now, you can also make a delicious veggie scramble or an omelet with 1 egg and 2 egg whites. So you're kind of getting a little more bulk in there. And it's only 87 calories and 12 grams of protein. So that's kind of a nice filling breakfast. Okay. When we're talking about snacks, so you can think about things like baked tortilla chips and cheese sticks instead of cheese nachos, hummus instead of artichoke dip. You can do Parmesan chips instead of potato chips, the ones that you make, not the ones you buy. Frozen yogurt bars instead of ice cream. Have a protein bar instead of a candy bar. Many of them, let's face it, do kind of taste like a candy bar. So a healthy baked apple instead of apple pie. That's really simple to do. So basically what you'll do for that is you'll core the apple, and you'll sprinkle it with cinnamon, nutmeg, and a teaspoon of brown sugar, and just microwave until tender. So what I would do is I would microwave it for like a minute or a minute and a half, see if it's starting to soft and get kind of crinkly on the outside, and then just like every 20 or 30 seconds after that until it gets to the softness that you want. And then roasting potato wedges instead of French fries. Okay. When you're eating out. So last night we had our Dine with a Dietitian. For any of you who have not participated in that, I would definitely recommend checking out the next time we do it in January. But when you're eating out, think about swapping cream-based soups for broths with lots of veggies, right? Instead of quiche, perhaps, try soup in a salad. Try grilled chicken sandwich instead of fried. Instead of buffalo chicken wings, Try Feel and Eat Shrimp. I'm not saying that all of these are everywhere, but these are just some things to think about depending on where you are. Rather than a hot fudge sundae, try non-fat frozen yogurt. Swap an egg white sandwich for Danish. Or instead of a jumbo cheeseburger, choose regular hamburger with lettuce, tomato, and onion. So these are just some simple swaps where you can reduce the calories and the carbs and the fat, but still kind of maintain, a semblance of, like regularity when you're going out and not feel like you have to completely restrict yourself or you can't go out and enjoy. We just have to change the lens in which we're viewing food and what our options are. All right, so that is kind of the end of our presentation today. Does anybody have any questions before we sign off? I want to remind everybody to fill out the survey so you get your perk points, but just wondering if you have any questions. If not, then I want to thank you all for coming into our virtual group today. I want you all to have a safe and a happy and a healthy holiday. And again, thank you all for coming in the group today. Okay? Take care. Bye.